Hi guys, welcome back to the We Run on Coffee podcast with Marissa and Arika. And Arika, we're just going to get into it. What happened to you this week? We have so many updates for you guys.
All right, y'all. So we have a lot to catch up on, but before we do, I'm going to tell you what I'm drinking because I just know we're going to get into it. So I'm going to tell you that I just made coffee because I just rolled out of bed maybe a half hour, 40 minutes ago. And I made a brown sugar in the cup, espresso over top, melted in, so good. And then I added brown sugar creamer, so extra brown sugar, and oat milk, and it's delicious. And it's the best at-home coffee I've had in a while. I've been struggling. I make them every day, but sometimes they just taste horrible, and I've been really bad at like my proportions and stuff. So I'm liking it though. Yeah, it's really good.
That's funny because I also made an iced latte with brown sugar in the cup.
That's so amazing.
Oh my God, and we're twinning. I know. And it's so good. And I just put oat milk. I didn't have brown sugar creamer, but we basically have the same thing.
Yes. Okay. So not to flip this on you, but I was going to say, why don't you catch us up first? Because I feel like you're going to touch on the happy things that happened this week. And I'd love to start on the positive. And then I'll give you guys the flip side.
Okay. So this week, Arika came over this weekend, and you guys know because we recorded that episode last Monday. So the episode previous to this was when Arika was at my house, and we went to the city on Tuesday, and we were like, okay, so I went to work. I feel like I'm all discombobulated.
Me too. But it's okay.
I went to work on Tuesday. Arika was working at my apartment, and then it was like, I think it was like noon, right?
Yeah, somewhere between like noon and 2.
Yeah, you had messaged me and you were like, hey, guess what? The concert got canceled. So sad. We didn't get to end up going to the concert, and it was actually kind of a blessing in disguise because we just got to go and like walk around the city. We ended up going on a 3.5 mile walk. And
was it that much?
Yeah. Dang. I looked back at it and I was like, oh my goodness.
That's awesome.
I know, but it was a really, really pretty walk, and I loved it, honestly.
Same. Oh my God. And we got the best photos. The photos turned out like prettier than real life.
And check the Instagram for those guys. They're so cute. But we went around. We started at like the National Mall, got to show Arika this. And this was her first time ever seeing the city. She had never seen it before. So I showed her like the National Mall. And then I also, like, we just walked down towards like the Lincoln Memorial. If anybody knows DC, you'll know what I'm talking about. And then we walked around the Tidal Basin, back by the Jefferson Memorial, I think. And then we went back on the metro, came home. We went and got tacos and margs. Oh my God,
those were so good.
And guys, shout out if you're from this area, Natty's. I don't even know the full name of the restaurant. I just know it's NATY''S, and it is so good.
It was amazing. I just told my mom about it too because I was like,
really?
It was so good.
It was so good. But then I just kind of went back to work like normal the rest of the week. I went to work like later on Wednesday since they were here, and I wanted to like spend the most time with them as I could. We went and got coffee. And guys, remember, if you remember, you're an OG, the beginning of the entire podcast. In the first episode, I talked about my favorite spot, the spot on Mill Street. Apparently, it's not the spot on Main because I was wrong this whole time. But we tried to go there and they were closed. So we ended up going to this place called Crepe and Grind. And it was okay overall, I would say, right?
Yeah, it was good. I really liked my breakfast sandwich, but I don't know if I was just like ravenous hungry or it was really good. I think it was actually pretty good, but
I think it was pretty good.
Our coffees were all like, medium tier. Yeah. It wasn't a coffee shop though, so like I'm not trying to say that it's like, it's a crepe place. Mm-hmm. And the crepes looked amazing.
Were good. Yeah. Arika got a breakfast sandwich, but all of us got crepes, and they were pretty good.
Yeah, they looked really, really good. But it was so cute. The owners were like these two sisters, and they were like, I think they were the owners. I actually don't know, but just these two sisters, probably in their 50s, 60s, and they were just so cute.
It was so cute. That was the second time I'd been there, but it was fun to like sit down and like talk. And the last time I went, I only got coffee, so it was good to like actually get food this time. Mm-hmm. And then what else did I do this week? I just kind of got back into the swing of things. Like I just cooked a little because I wasn't able to cook like at the beginning of the week, and then I just went back into the grind of things at work. And then
you had to work yesterday, right? On a Saturday?
Yeah, I had to work Saturday, so yesterday, because I I took Monday off to hang out and drive back with Arika and Angelo and Kyle.
Yes.
And then I just worked yesterday, which was totally fine. No big deal. It just felt like a normal week because it was 5 days, and I feel like I had plenty of time after I got off to like still relax.
Oh, that's good.
it wasn't too bad, but now I'm just catching up on laundry, doing some house chores, and that's it. This is a really pretty chill week for me, but I do have an update.
Oh, tell us.
Okay, so I've been thinking about running again ever since I finished my last like race, and I've been like trying to like get back into it, and especially after the running episode, which you guys haven't heard yet,
right?
But it comes out on Wednesday.
Yeah, yes. Everyone go listen to the running episode.
Yes, but me and Kyle are signing up for a half marathon.
No, you're not.
Yes.
What? Oh my god!
I haven't filled it out yet. Like I haven't
That's
filled
insane.
out like the like application or whatever. But we're gonna run the DC half marathon.
Nuh-uh. When is it?
September 17th.
September 17th this year. Mm-hmm. You guys are nuts. Oh my god, I want to come.
Okay.
I want to come watch. That would be so awesome. That is so cool.
And we're not going to start training until we live together. So I looked it up. We'll have 14 weeks of training, which I think is so doable.
Mm-hmm. Because you guys have like a good foundation, I think.
Yeah, I did my 10K training in 11 weeks. I just looked back at my training plan and I was like, okay, adding like 3 more weeks, I think that's totally doable.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to kind of like start running a little bit more like, I don't know, like a little bit more like.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
My jaw's on the floor. I'm shook. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't filled out like the application or anything yet, but I told Kyle, I was like, I kind of want to do this. And he was like, well, I'll pay for it. And I was like, no, I want you to like, I want to make sure that you're able to like be there. Like you don't have to pay for it. Like I'll pay for it like next week or something. And I was like, I'll do it. And he was like, no, I'm going to pay for it for us to do it together.
Oh,
and I was like,
my God.
Okay.
And wasn't he just the other day complaining about you guys ran together? And he's like, because you have me running. And I was just like, so I'm shook that he's going to do it. That's so cool.
He's so dramatic because I made him go on like a 2-mile run and he was like, my knees hurt. And I was like, you're old.
Me. Oh my God. My knees always hurt me. Yeah. That's so exciting.
That's my biggest update. I'm really excited. Training won't start until the week after he moves in because I wanted to make sure that like we could keep each other accountable.
Yeah. That's
and if we like started separately, because if we started now, it'd be 18 weeks. And I was like, that's a little bit better. It's not as like rigorous. But I was like, I kind of want to just like start training together. And I was like, he can do a couple runs here and there because the training plan starts out with like 3-mile runs. So I was like, if you can just like work up to 3-mile runs by the time you come here, totally fine. We can take it slow.
Oh my God. And he'll have some time off work when he gets there. So that would be nice for you guys.
Yeah, because he doesn't start work until August 21st. So he'll honestly only have to work for a month like of the remainder of the training.
That's crazy. Oh my God. Angela's going to be shocked when he hears this.
I know. I'm so excited.
Wow, that's so awesome. I wish that I could be like, we'll do it with you, but I'm definitely
like,
pretty sure I can't do that. But that's really awesome. Wow. Congrats, you guys. I'm so pumped. That's such a cool, fun thing.
I'm so excited.
Not to be that guy, but we're gonna flip to the bad side of the trip.
The travesty that was Arika's week.
Oh my God. I didn't even know how to begin, but on Sunday, Angela and I went to see a concert in Cleveland, which is 2 hours from where we live. And then we drove back and got back at like 1 a.m, slept, woke up at 5 a.m, or 6, I think it was like 5 the next day, and started driving to visit Marissa in Virginia. All of that went smoothly. Somehow I ran on no sleep and barely any coffee, and I was like in a good mood. I was honestly really surprised at myself. I was you're a trooper.
I was so proud of you.
Same. And Angela was like, I don't know what happened. I was like, I don't know. Good people, I guess. I'm just like happy. And then like Marissa mentioned, on Tuesday we were supposed to go to the Quinn 92 concert, and we had already had like an inkling because he had canceled the show the night before ours due to losing his voice. And so we were like, okay, there's no way he's gonna get his voice back in one day. So we kind of expected it, but we were waiting, and I don't think any of us were that disappointed, to be honest. Like Marissa said, it was like so nice because we ended up just hanging out, walking around, and that's my kind of thing. I honestly love it. And so that was all good. Sorry. I'm trying to like put them all in order. While I was at Marissa's, I had to scan my Invisalign to like send it to my doctors. And usually you do that by like, you have a little, what's the word? Like you just have a little it's called a scan box. So it's like a little thing you put in your mouth, and it like pushes your cheeks back a little, and then it takes pictures of your teeth, and it looks very normal, and it's just your teeth. You don't see any other parts of your face. But I forgot mine, so I had to hold my mouth back with my fingers, like all 4 fingers in my mouth. These will never see Instagram. They'll never see the light of day. But I hold my fingers in my mouth and pull my mouth back and make Angelo take all the pictures of my Invisalign. And so that was not that bad, but it was just a really funny thing that, I don't know, maybe I'll post one. Maybe I'll feel bold, but like you could see up my nose, you could see my cheeks, you could see my whole face in it. So that was crazy. Also, while we were at Marissa's, this is all in the span of like 2.5 days. Also, while we were at Marissa's, I got a message from Airbnb that was like, hey, by the way.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. I literally started a list because I forgot too. It was like, hey, by the way, Airbnb has canceled your trip to New York City this August. And I was like, what the hell? I was just so mad. I was like, I've never heard of this happening. Why would they do this? This is so stupid. This took us so long to find. This was such a good deal. Just going on and on. Finally, I open the app and I unlock it, and it's like, your Airbnb has been canceled due to your host has died. And I was like, what the hell? Oh my God, I'm so sorry for ever crap talking. Rest in peace, David. Everyone send well wishes and prayers. Rip David. I felt so bad. So that happened, and now we don't even know if we're going to New York. Then it's Wednesday. Okay, people, we've only made it to Wednesday from Monday. It's Wednesday. We go to the crepes in the morning, like Marissa said, and then they send us off, and the boys drop me off at my train. This is my first time train traveling. Didn't really know exactly what I was doing, but pulled up to the Amtrak, and they dropped me off and left. And I was like, all right, I'm on my own, kid. So I figure everything out. The train bathrooms were closed, which is pretty annoying because I had to pee so bad. I had to wait for the train. They are like under renovations apparently at your guys' Amtrak, but yeah, so I got on my train and everything was going good. We left Virginia and we're driving through Maryland, and they just like stopped the train on the tracks, like in the middle of nowhere. It's not a stop. There's nothing. And they just stop it. And they're like, we are going to stop the train here and perform a maintenance check due to a reported suspicious smell, which I could smell the whole time. Like I had been smelling it. And I've never been traveling on an Amtrak, so I thought it was normal. It smelled like the subway, like in New York, like just hot and like burning a little bit. And so that's what it smelled like. I was like, oh, this is fine, whatever. They stopped the train. They investigated the smell, which was like, it was on my car, and they got out, looked at it, came back in, and then we kept going, and they were like, we fixed it. It's all good. And then we pull into the stop at Wilmington in Delaware. And all of a sudden I just look out my window and there's just smoke going up my window, like bellowing up. And I was like, I look around to see if anyone else is concerned, and then an Amtrak worker busts through the doors, and she's like, everyone in this car needs to evacuate immediately, leave your things and move to the car in front of you or behind you and find a new seat, like quickly. Do not grab your stuff, just quickly get out, this is an emergency. I'm like, oh my God. So I go to the train behind me. I see this young man. Looks like he just graduated from training of the Navy. I'm like, okay, I'm sitting next to that guy because he'll save me. Like, he knows what to do. So I go sit next to this Navy guy. I just have my purse, and I'm just like sitting there. He has no idea what's going on. He's oblivious. He's just got his AirPods in. But I think he can see the look of panic on my face because he turns to me and he's like, oh, do you know what's going on? And I was like, yeah, actually, I think my train's going to set on fire in my car. And so not even 2 minutes after I evacuated that car, they were just going to have us move to the next cars and keep going. Not even 2 minutes later, the police come onto the car and they're like, everyone needs to evacuate. And the Amtrak worker was like, no, like we already evacuated the car. He's like, no, everyone evacuate the train immediately. Don't grab your things. Get off the train, get onto the platform, go downstairs and get in the train station as fast as you can. This is an emergency. This train car is on fire. And I was like, oh my God. So I get out of the car, snap a quick picture, which is what I sent you. It was the crappiest picture. Like, snap a quick picture as I'm walking away. I'll like run down the stairs into the train station. I'm like, try not to be creepy, but I'm following this guy in the Navy so that he can save my life if it comes down to it. We get in the train station, and the fire department's already there coming in. So then there's firefighters. They're going up the stairs. They've got their freaking big ass hoses that they're dragging all through. And the guy comes on the speaker inside the train station. He's like, hey, everyone, like, obviously this is an emergency. This train station is not meant for 500 people. We're evacuating the train station. So then they close the whole station. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're going, what train you're on. You're not staying in here. So they got everybody out, and we just stood outside the train station, like in the grass of this courtyard
At least
thing.
It was a nice day.
Dude, that's what I said. I was like, if it was pouring rain, I'd want to die. So we all
well,
stood
it
out
wouldn't
there.
have been a fire because it would have been put out.
Yeah, true. We all stood out there for 2 hours. just waiting, nothing. There was like probably, I keep saying between 4 and 6 because the whole block was closed off, but like between 4 and 6 full size fire trucks with full teams, police, the news, everybody's freaking there. And we're just all standing around like waiting for something to happen. And then eventually after like, I would say it was probably 2.5 hours at this point, they finally are like, okay, if you're on train like 653 or whatever, you can go in. Your train's here, get on it and get out of here. And so they started like slowly letting people go. But anyone who was on the train that caught on fire, like all our bags were still there. So no one could really leave unless you wanted to leave your crap. So finally they were like, we're going to let you go in 15 people at a time, grab your suitcase, come back down. But there were hundreds of us. It was so like, I felt like they handled it really well for being like, it was a super small train station. They like are not prepared for this, but some people were obviously mad, like people always are in a crisis. But I think they did a nice job. It was just like chaotic because of the nature of it. Mm-hmm. But finally they let us in and they were like, go onto the train and get your bags. The fire's put out. It's all good. So you actually just like walked into it. Felt like a dead, like it felt like a movie scene, like an abandoned car. But it was my first train ride, so I didn't know where I was sitting. I was just sitting in the train. So I go up to the woman and I was like, I need help finding my bags. And she's like, where were you sitting? And I said, I'm really sorry, I don't remember. She's like, were you in front of the cafe car or behind it? And I was like, I don't know. And she literally rolled her eyes and got so mad at me. And I was like, I'm really sorry. Like, I've never done this. And I was like, I was in the car that literally caught on fire. Can you show me that one? And she was like, yeah, it's right here. So I walk in and my bag was the last bag on the shelf. I grabbed it. And then they had 2 trains coming in that were northbound that could get people to Philly, which there were tons of us trying to go to Philly. Most of us were. And they were like, okay, these are the last 2 trains for a while. Like, everyone needs to get on these trains. So the first one comes, everyone gets in, and we're all like, pushing our suitcases down the aisle, like really close behind each other in the train, looking for seats. We're like moving, looking for seats. And then all of a sudden you hear the beeping and then the doors close and then they come on the speaker and they're like, just so you know, it's going to be standing room only. So I had to stand from Delaware till Philly.
That's like an hour and a half too,
it was
right?
So annoying. No, it wasn't that long. I thought it was going to be longer, but it ended up being really fast. I think it was less than 45 minutes, but still.
I'm guessing that they probably, because I remember when I did this exact same train travel in October, and
the
I'm
Northeast
pretty sure
Regional shout out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they had to. They when you guys got on because of the whole emergency and like people needing to get places, they probably didn't stop at the remainder of the stops between Wilmington and Philly, and maybe that's why you were able to get there in like less time.
Yeah, we just went straight there.
Yeah, and I think that there was probably like maybe 4 to 5 stops in between the 2 that we had to stop at, and each of those has their own transition time. So
so my train caught on fire. Moral of the story.
and then you had to stand.
Yeah, then I had to stand all the way to Philly, so that was crazy. And then I was on my work trip for 3 days, which also was like, it was fun, but there were some flops along the way, which I won't get into because we're already like so into this episode. But I was just, and I was busy yesterday too. I'm just so tired. Like, have not caught up on sleep since last Saturday, which as we're recording, that was a week and a day ago. Because I've just been doing stuff every day and I like haven't gotten my full sleep yet still. But yesterday, very quickly, I'll sum up. Yesterday, it was Saturday, my first day home. I'd gone home at like 9 the night before. Oh, on my flight back, there was a problem as well. On my flight back from Philly to Ohio.
You're banned from traveling.
Dude, I know, I was so scared. But on my flight back from Philly to Ohio, the pilot comes on the speaker and he goes, I'm really sorry for this, folks. And I'm like, what the hell is he going to say? Like, we're all going to die. And he's like, we're in holding. We're going to be circling West Virginia for at least the next 20 minutes because there's thunderstorms in Columbus and we can't land. And I'm like, oh my luck. This would happen. Seriously, when we landed, I was like, I could cry. Like, I really thought I might not make it home because it was just so much.
At least the pilot was smart enough to not push through.
I know. I'm like, just don't start a message like, I'm sorry about this, guys. Like, maybe just tell us first and then say I'm sorry. I was like, what's he gonna say? But yes, so then yesterday, Saturday, my first full day back in Columbus, I had planned nothing so that I wouldn't have anything to do. But of course, one of my really closest best friends that I don't get to see very much was like, I'm coming to Columbus and she has her boyfriend, their 2 kids, and she was like, I want to come see you. And I was like, okay, I'm actually supposed to meet my mom for Mother's Day, but if you come at this time, like, we can hang out for a minute. So hung out with them and went to the park, which was like actually so fun. And swinging at the park, underrated. And then I left and I met my mom like halfway between where we both live, and I bought her dinner at Texas Roadhouse for Mother's Day, and we just did a lot of shopping, which key to my heart is shopping. So that was my week. That's probably not even all of it, but I'm like, I just can't. I can't anymore.
Way more eventful than mine.
Dude, honestly, I would love to have had your week at this point.
Just imagine this week, God. Your week is going to be so like docile, nothing crazy. Just stay home, go to bed after your Mother's Day plans today,
right?
And then just sleep.
Start over, I know.
My week is going to be crazy, and I'm not going to get into it on this episode because we're filming another one today, guys, and I'll talk about it on that one.
Yes, I can't wait. But yeah, so that's my whole catch up. And now that we're 20 minutes in, I guess we can start.
I guess. Okay. So as you guys know by the title, we are doing another book club. And I am honestly so excited for this one because I think it's really similar to the one we did last time. It has some heavy topics in this book as well. However, I think it's just as hyped up as
it is really hyped. It's Colleen Hoover's most hyped up book. I think like I feel like this is the one I hear of the most.
Yeah, and it's the only book that she has that's turning into like another stream of media.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. But this is a fiction for the record. So Jeanette McCurdy's. I mean, I think this is loosely obviously based off reality, but it is a fiction book.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm excited.
So we are going to be doing a little cute book club on It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. And I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys. I didn't finish the book until last night.
Oh, okay. I did. And I was like, whoa.
No, I did. It was
that's fair.
It was like 6 p.m. yesterday, and like literally over the last 2 days, like not including today, but Saturday and Friday, I probably read for 7 hours to finish that book.
No way. I know you asked me when I was starting, and I was like, I am starting this day, but like I guess I read really fast usually, and I'm like, I don't know when to tell you to start.
Yeah, I do read pretty slowly. However, I just like last week when I was home, not last week, but the week before that, I couldn't read at all. Like I think I read maybe 2 chapters while I was home, and I didn't have enough time. Yeah. So, wild. But I finished it last night, and then I was the one that was assigned to get all of these book club questions. So it was like 6 p.m. last night, and I was like, Arika, how many questions do I need? And then of course she was with her mom and she was busy, and I was like, I feel bad, but I was like, I couldn't also find the past book club episode, like on our organization software that we use. I couldn't find it on there, and I was like, Arika, I just need a little bit, please.
Oh my gosh. No, they look good. I'm really excited. I previewed the questions, not gonna lie, but I was I did it this morning, so I was just like really quickly, and I'm really excited about them.
Okay, so first off, before we get started, we're going to do a trigger warning again. Like I said, this is also a book that has some heavy topics, not as many as the Jeanette McCurdy book that we did cover, but this one, it does touch on domestic violence. So if that's something that you are uncomfortable hearing about, or it's something that would end up triggering you, please feel free to click off, come back for another episode, one of our happy ones. Yes. We won't be sad.
Maybe next time we need to pick a little more chill of a book.
I know. Jeez. I didn't know that was what this book was about, though.
Yeah, I didn't even know anything about it before I read it. I was just like, oh, okay, I'll try it.
Yeah. So before we get into the summary and then maybe talking a little bit more about that, it's I'll just cite some of the sources that I used. I only used 3 for this one. So for the summary, I was looking at the website that Arika had used last time.
Yes.
And tell me why when I read the summary out loud, it was like 8 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I cannot read that summary on here.
They honestly, like, I don't know if that's a summary. They did that with Jeanette McCurdy. I had to cut like half of it. I'm like, this isn't a summary. This is like the book.
I know. And I was like, I wanted something that was a good summary. And like everything else that I found that wasn't an 8 to 10 minute long summary, it was like 30 seconds. And I was like, that doesn't give me any information at all.
Yeah.
So I chose to just use the back of the book. So we're going to cite the book itself for this.
Love it.
And then justleafing.com. It was a really cool book club, just questions website. Then Libromaniacs, which is one that Arika had used the last time.
Yes.
And that one was good to find questions for this one as well. And then bookclubs.com. That one was cool. I know that you'd used that too, and I thought it was great. It just gave me a couple of other questions.
Bookclubs.com. Maybe once we start getting into our book clubs, we should make our own account, because I use it for work, and you can literally put in, like, I would put in myself and I would put in you, and I would say, this month we're reading It Ends With Us, and then it would prompt us to do the book club, and then you can put all the books you read, and then it's like books my book club has read. We could also suggest books to each other. So maybe if you're a listener and like you want to join our book club, we could start one with our listeners, and our listeners could suggest books. We would pick one, and then we could all do it together. That'd be cool. So
yeah, I do like that. We should. Okay,
right,
so next I'm just going to summarize the book. Yay. So, like I said, this is from the back of the book. So, it starts with, sometimes it is the one who loves you who hurts you the most. Lily hasn't always had it easy, but that has never stopped her from working hard for the life that she wants. She comes a long way from a small town in Maine where she grew up. She graduated from college, moved to Boston, and started her own business. So when she feels a spark with a gorgeous neurosurgeon named Ryle Kincaid, everything in Lily's life suddenly seems almost too good to be true. Ryle is assertive, stubborn, maybe even a little bit arrogant, but he's also sensitive, brilliant, and has a total soft spot for Lily. And the way he looks in scrubs certainly doesn't hurt. Lily can't get him out of her head, but Ryle's complete aversion to relationships is disturbing. Even as Lily finds herself becoming the exception to his quote-unquote no dating rule, she can't help but wonder what made him that way in the first place. As questions about her new relationship overwhelm her, so do thoughts of Atlas Corrigan, her first love, and a link to the past that she left behind. He was her kindred spirit, her protector. When Atlas suddenly reappears, everything Lily has built with Ryle is threatened. With this bold and deeply personal novel, Colleen Hoover delivers a heart-wrenching story that breaks exciting new ground for her as a writer. Combining a captivating romance with a cast of all too human characters, It Ends With Us is an unforgettable tale of love that comes with the ultimate price.
Ooh.
I feel like
that's good. Before we start, I want to know, do you have a rating?
Yeah,
or
I
want to know your general thoughts before we dive into the discussion, because I'm very, very curious.
I think it was between a 4 and a 5. I don't think it was a 5 because there were some things, we'll get into it, but there were some things that I didn't necessarily love, but I really, really liked the overarching story, and I think that's what it shoots me to between a 4 and a 4.5.
Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, I hate Goodreads for that reason, because on Goodreads you can only have whole stars, and I'm like, something might not be a 4 but not be a 5. Give me half stars. But I think I might have an unpopular opinion, and I kind of hated the book for most of it, and I would say it's between a 3 and 4 though. I agree. I also liked the overarching idea of it, but there were some details that I could not get past, and I was cringing at. So I'm very excited to talk about it. It sounds like we have a similar idea though of what we thought. So, all right, I'm excited.
Okay, so this is a question I didn't write down, but I did see it on a couple of book club websites. What did you think of the title? Because like we both said, we had no idea what the book was about going into it. So what did you think that the title meant?
Before I read it?
Yes.
I didn't think about it that much, to be honest with you. I guess I assumed, and this is actually really funny, I guess I assumed it was about someone dying because I read Verity first, and Verity had a different aspect. It wasn't, I'm not saying it's about someone dying, but Verity had a more of a crime-y aspect to it that this didn't. What is that called? I don't know.
It was definitely thriller-y.
Yeah, thriller-y. Thank you. Yeah, Verity was more of a thriller theme, so I just that's how I see Colleen Hoover as a writer, because that was my first one. So I was like, oh, maybe this is about people dying. I was getting Romeo Juliet vibes. I didn't know. Yeah. So that's what I thought. What about you?
I also thought that it was about somebody dying. I mean, It Ends With Us. It sounds kind of, like you said, kind of Romeo and Juliet. Yeah. But the first line of the book, it opens up with her on a rooftop, and I was like, is she going to end up killing herself at the end?
Yes. Yeah, and that's what I wondered too.
That's kind of what I thought, and I was like, it ends with us, murder, suicide pact, they both jump off of the roof.
Oh my God.
Full circle. I don't know what I was thinking. I just kind of thought that one of the main characters, either Lily or Ryle, would die in the end, or both.
Yeah. Spoiler alert,
they did not. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, right. No, that's a good question, and I really just didn't think that deep into it. I was just like, I don't know what I'm getting into.
Yeah. So basically, what It Ends With Us means, we'll get into it later, but It Ends With Us was her speaking about ending the cycle of abuse in her life. And I think that it had a really beautiful meaning at the end.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the final question. So we'll get into that later. But the first question that I have for you, which is my most exciting question, I think, what were your initial thoughts on Ryle?
I didn't really like him, to be honest. Like I said, I'm kind of
no. I completely agree. I hated him.
They want us to like him, I feel like, but also I think she really did try to intertwine the bad qualities and mask them with the good so that we can understand how it works when, you know, there are themes of like men who abuse who are disguised by like good looks or doing really nice things. It's like, oh, he's really nice to me most of the time. But like when we first met him, he was on the roof like throwing things and being wild,
kicking a chair,
being like, he would, when he talked to Lily in the beginning, I feel like he was very assertive, just like very straightforward and like abrupt, and it turned me off to him immediately. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, so I completely agree. I hated him, honestly, the entire book. Until like maybe the end when he like started to show his soft side a little bit more once, like, spoiler alert, Lily gets pregnant. Like, I feel like I started to see that he could like break down who he was in the past and kind of like unveil like the good underneath, and maybe the child would have made him change, but it wasn't worth it in the end to stick it out and see. But I hated him. I thought that he was entitled. He thought that his time was worth everything and Lily's was worth nothing, because like, yes, I understand that he was like a neurosurgery resident, but like he would literally just not care about like Lily reaching out or like anything, and he was like, my time is the world, yours means nothing, I don't care about you unless I get something out of it. And I thought he was creepy too. Like, there's a question a couple down, but I thought that like he seemed kind of stalkerish, and I did not like him.
Oh, I know what question you're talking about, and same. Wow, I always come to these book clubs thinking I'll have an unpopular opinion, and then I don't. We always like think the same thing, which is really funny. But before we go to the next one, I want to give everyone listening even more of a summary or more of a deep dive into the characters. So we have Lily Bloom, which first of all, that was an immediate turn off to me. I was like, that's a stupid name. Like, I'm so sorry. And she loves flowers. So like, that's the personality there. So I'll just say that. There's Lily Bloom. There's Ryle. What is his last name again?
Kincaid.
Okay. And he's a neurosurgeon, right? And that's pretty much his personality trait. Like, he's a doctor.
Yes. I have a question. Do you think that Colleen Hoover explicitly described his physical appearance?
No.
I don't either. Okay.
No, I don't know what he looks like. In my brain, I was honestly not really picturing much, because I'm like, I don't know what he's supposed to look like.
I was picturing like a tall, muscular guy in scrubs, but I had no other features.
There's no face to me. Like, I don't know what he looks like.
Okay, continue with your breakdown.
No, so there's those are the two people. The book opens, they're on a roof. They meet for the first time. They're complete strangers. In Boston, I believe, is where they meet. And Ryle is angry. He's throwing things. He's breaking things. They talk to each other. Whatever. La-di-da. He lives in the building. She does not. She just goes there for the rooftop views and vibes. And so then we start getting a backstory on Lily. And I want to introduce this because this was another part of the book that I personally hated, is that she has this history of dating someone who was, quote, homeless. And I really liked that character. His name was Atlas. Don't remember his last name. Thank you. I'm so bad with that. But I love the name Atlas, and like, I'm annoyed that it was in this book. Anyways, so we get introduced to like her childhood and this character named Atlas, who she used to date, who was homeless, and he like took salvation in this house behind hers when they were kids, and they dated. She got in trouble for dating him, and he left. Whatever. She never saw him again. He left for like the military to get out of his town and like be somewhere. So I wanted to introduce that like little storyline because I think it helps. And also like the homeless person storyline did not bother me the way that she wrote it, but I don't know how to explain it. Like, they would just be like, oh yeah, because I dated a homeless guy. Like, they were making jokes about it that I was just like, it's in distaste. I just don't like it. So anyways, we can continue. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I fell in love with Atlas from the minute that he came into the book. I thought that he was so sweet. He was
such a kind character.
Yeah, and I loved him. Even from like the first letter that Lily wrote, and that's the next question.
Yes.
I just think that like he was painted in such a good light, and it was always like, I'm excited to see what the movie does with like imagery and stuff. Because
but I'm also kind of scared. I'm like, don't ruin it. You know what I mean?
I know, because I'm kind of excited to see like, are they going to have like these light, like cinematic moments when she's like back writing the letters, like when they do those flashbacks to her writing the letters, or are they going to just kind of have it normal to not kind of unveil, or are they going to use that symbolism and like have the moments that she's with Ryle kind of be like dark and overwhelming, and then the moments that she was writing the letters to like Atlas or not to Atlas but to Ellen, like if she's gonna be like whimsical and like happy.
Yeah.
I'm just interested to see.
I wonder that too. I'm a little nervous. I'm like, don't ruin Atlas's character and make him like a bad guy in any way. That's all I ask.
Did you see who they casted as Atlas?
Who is it?
It's on Instagram. I don't know his name, but I don't think that he's gonna. I don't think he gives what I want him to be giving.
No.
But Blake Lively is going to play adult Lily, and Justin Baldoni is playing Ryle.
By the way, like, I know people are mad, but I actually like his casting for Ryle. I actually like that.
I do too.
I can see that, but Blake Lively I don't see as much, but that's fine.
I don't either.
I don't know if
I was like, not to be mean, like, Blake Lively is a beautiful human, and, like, she's a great actress, but I haven't seen her act in a while, so I feel like it's going to be a little bit weird.
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit. I just don't know about it. Oh, that's Atlas. Oh, he's cute.
What's his name?
His name is... Oh, where did it go? I've never even heard of it. Brandon Sklenner.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like he looks very rugged.
They're all older than I wanted them to be. Like, in this book, I'm reading it, and I feel like they're young.
Well, they'll probably have, like, a teenage Atlas as well, like, when they flash back to, like, young Lily, because they're trying to look for somebody to cast as young Lily right now.
Yeah.
But... I don't know. He looks very rugged, and I don't picture him as a rugged human. Like, yes, he grew up and he was homeless, and then he moved into the military, but I just don't see him as, like, the stereotypical looking person that looks like they grew up in a rugged background and then they went into the military. I just see him as somebody that looks like soft. I don't know.
Okay. That's really interesting. I actually, when I'm looking at this picture, that's who I see it. I like it.
Really?
Yeah. Like, what I was picturing in my brain is something similar. Like, even his medium longish hair. And he looks how I thought he would. But I also just don't know him as an actor. So I'm like, we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, our next question.
Yes.
What did you think of Lily's letters to Ellen DeGeneres? Was this an effective literary device to tell Lily and Atlas's story?
Love the question, first of all. I thought it was really interesting. So in the book, Lily wrote letters to Ellen DeGeneres. They were never sent. It was more like a journal, and she was just addressing the journal to someone, which I did think was cute, because I think in a weird way, it's like a lot of people are like, oh, I should journal, but they have a hard time with it. So this was kind of a cute way to be like, oh, you can do it any type of way. I think it was effective to tell Lily and Atlas's story. I didn't see a problem with it, but it was also, I mean, when you really think about it, it was definitely one-sided. It was only Lily's perspective. We heard nothing from Atlas. Like, we don't know what Atlas thinks. But for the most part, I feel like he felt the same way as her, because, you know, he was always ever nice to her. It's not like he was ever like, get away from me, you creep. Like, they got along, they were in love, whatever. But yeah, it is kind of one-sided and only about Lily, which I think is kind of interesting. But I liked it. And I also was thinking, as I was reading it, I was like, I just am not an Ellen fan, so I was having a hard time with those. I don't know why, but I like kind of don't like Ellen DeGeneres at all, so I just thought that was funny. But it was cute. They always used to watch her show together, and that was like their thing. So she would write the letters to Ellen and address them. So I thought it was cute. Yeah, I liked it.
I think it was cute. I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say that they like hated the letters because they were like, I just don't understand why she's like writing to Ellen. Like, she wasn't. At the end of the day, she was writing to herself. She just used a person to address the letter, so she felt like it was kind of out of body.
Yes.
Like, she wasn't just like writing the letter to herself like a journal normally is. And I think I can like empathize with that, because sometimes it's hard to get your thoughts out to yourself, because like at the end of the day, it's only your brain talking to your brain. Right. So kind of adding that like person by proxy in there, I feel like that's kind of helpful.
Yeah.
And I agree, it was an effective literary device to like tell their story, but I would have liked to see more of the both-sidedness, especially from that young perspective. But I think once in the end of the book, when Lily takes refuge with Atlas in like the last third of the book, I think we do get his story, or at least we get a little bit of it. He's a lot more like guarded than Lily is, and I think it was kind of like at the end it was him opening up and like sharing his story a little bit more. But I think it would have been nice to kind of know like if maybe he wrote like a journal and like we got those passages as well.
I was like, I could almost read a whole book from Atlas's perspective, just because I think Colleen obviously wanted us to like his character, and we do, but I really would like be interested in his perspective, because we got nothing. We're just like, oh, he was homeless and like he lived behind my house. Why? Like, he said my parents don't want me. Why? Like, I would love more of his story. So I agree with you there.
And I don't know what It Starts With Us is about. I think it's supposed to be a continuation, because I know it's not like a backstory, but I think it's supposed to be a continuation. And I feel like maybe she does have a little bit more of a like Atlas perspective, and maybe like he'll have like those quote unquote flashbacks. But I did like it with like the letter aspect because instead of like the book following two separate storylines, like those books that'll be like it'll have like a date and it'll like flash back and forth.
Those confuse me.
I
get lost.
I agree, and I liked that they just kind of like they changed the font and they made it a letter, and that made it was in the past.
Yeah, I personally liked it. I'm surprised. I didn't know that people weren't a fan of that, but I really liked it, and I thought I felt like it made sense to the story. Like I got it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, we're going back to Ryle now. So one of Ryle and Lily's early interactions was when he knocked on 29 doors in her building to find her. How did this strike you? Was it romantic? Explain.
Okay, I feel like we're going to agree here since we made that comment earlier, but I thought it was like a little weird, and I'm like, that seems like a little creepy. But also, like, it was well received by Lily, so that made us probably feel like, okay, I guess it was romantic because she liked it. But I don't know, thought it was weird. It's pretty much all I have to say about that.
I agree. I thought, like I said at the beginning, he just like kind of gave me stalker vibes, and like that wasn't the only. Yeah, that wasn't the only time that something like that happened. Like he would send her a message and was like, "Hey, are you up for visitors tonight?" And she would be she would respond like an hour later and be like, "Yeah, I am." And he's like, "Good, because I'm here." And I'm like, "No, go away."
How long have you been there? The whole hour?
No, literally.
Like, creep.
And I was expecting him to be a lot more like. From the beginning of the book, before they ended up like getting into a relationship with each other, I thought that he was just going to become a stalker. Like I didn't envision him like becoming abusive. I just was like, oh, Lily's not going to be interested, especially the first time that she had seen Atlas before she had decided to be in a relationship with Ryle. I was like, oh, she's going to start dating like Atlas, and then Ryle's going to be jealous and like kind of stalk her.
Oh,
but
that's an interesting idea though.
That wasn't what happened. I wish that it was. But.
No, that's funny you said that, because going back to you asking me about the title, like halfway through the book, to be honest, I was hating it. I didn't like it until like the last quarter, and then I was still like, it's all right. But halfway through the book, I was still thinking like, I don't know if they're gonna like really be in love. It doesn't seem like they're gonna work out, because they kept telling us like, oh, it's not gonna work out. It's not gonna work out. So I really thought there was still gonna be a murder by the end. Like I was like, what is this? Because I was halfway through thinking, this story, to be honest, I was thinking this story's a little boring. What's the kick? Like, what's the catch going to be? And I thought it was going to be murder. But anyway. Yeah.
I think that she did a really good job trying to convey the way that you can like mask being an abuser. And like she had a lot of those like symbolic elements of like turning into an abuser, like him being overbearing and like always like showing up unexplained, and then also having a temper, and just all of the things that you would like classically say as an abuser, but she masked it in this romantic sense. Like he knocked on 29 doors trying to find me, and it was so beautiful. Yeah. Or he like, I don't know, just I can't think of any other examples, because it's hard for me to like reminisce on that and like think of like the nice things, because at the beginning I saw him in a bad light. So yeah, we were set up to not like him, I feel like. Yeah. Which I don't know if she was trying to do that, because it almost seems like we were supposed to like him, and then by the end we were supposed to hate him. But I had a weird feeling from the beginning. Yeah, I think that we were supposed to fall in love with the character and then kind of be thrown off, just like Lily was when like things did turn bad. And I was talking to my friend Owen, because she read this book and she's been begging me to read it forever. And I was like, Owen, I don't like Ryle. And she was like, oh my God, how? And I was like, I find him like creepy. I find him gross. I find him like entitled. Annoying, and she was like, I never saw that. I saw him exactly how Colleen wanted him painted, as a human. Like I saw him as romantic and trying to like court this woman, and I was like, I never saw that. Whoa. Oh my God. Apparently this should have been the episode we had her on. Sorry. I know. She told me, she joked, she was like, she should let me come on for this one, because I have the opposite perspective. Yeah, that's really interesting. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know. I was like, oh, and I think I hate him. Yeah, same. At work on Friday, I had told her, I was like, oh, and I hate him. And she was like, ugh, you hate everything that I like. And we were like, quote unquote, fighting. Like we were like yelling at each other, because we're both so stubborn. And it was so funny, because you were just like in an argument about it. And I was like, I just don't like him. And she was like, but I love him. And I was like, shut up. Man. That is funny. Okay, so the next one. One of the very influential characters in this book is Ryle's sister and Lily's best friend, Alyssa. How do you think having a character who has loyalty to both the protagonist changed the tone of the book?
Okay, this is not an answer to your question to begin with, but one of the first signs that I knew I wasn't going to like the book, I feel like I'm such a hater in this, when Alyssa walked into Lily's flower shop. So Lily in the book, Lily Bloom, opened a flower shop, and that
named
was like her
Lily Blooms.
Yeah. Wow, creative. Yeah, and that was like her big storyline. It's like she moved to the big city to start her own business, and she made bouquets. And one day Alyssa just walks in and was like, will you hire me? I need a job. And she's like, I don't have any money. And she's like, okay, I'll work for free. And then Lily was like, no, I'll pay you minimum wage. I just thought it was stupid. Like, I could not get over it. I thought it was the dumbest storyline. I get it. Alyssa was supposed to be like rich and married to her rich husband, but bored, and she couldn't get pregnant, so her dealing with her miscarriage became too much, and she wanted something to pass the time. And this was just, oh, a flower shop popped up, I guess I'll work there. But I just couldn't get past it. I thought it was the dumbest storyline ever. I really grew to love Alyssa by the end of the book, but at the beginning I was just like, I think I hate all the characters. I like didn't like anyone when it started. But I do think, oh yeah, go ahead.
I don't think that I loved Alyssa until maybe like the second half of the book.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I understand, like, they kind of just interjected her into, like, Lily and Ryle's storyline. And, like,
random.
She just, by happenstance had to be Ryle's sister. But I was like, I don't know. And I kept, like, I told Owen on Friday before I had gotten to, like, the abuse aspect of the book. And I was like, I feel like Alyssa is in on it. I was like, I feel like she's trying to push Ryle to be with Lily for some reason. And I was like, I don't know if she's trying to, like push them together and like knows that Ryle is like quote unquote stalking her, because that's what I still felt like the book was like. But nope, she just genuinely was a good friend.
She just walked in and was like, hey, what's up? I want to work here. And then they became instant best friends, and then they wanted to be sisters. And I was just like, this is so unrealistic. Like, that doesn't happen. You don't just meet someone and become instant best friends. I don't know. Yeah. It was hard for me to believe.
It was weird. But I did like the second half of the question where how did the loyalty to both of the protagonists change the tone of the book? I think it was interesting. I think it was cool that she, like, we'll get into it in a couple questions down, but like she was there through Ryle's childhood and that traumatic event that had happened in his life, and like was there to like comfort him through that and like grow into the person that he was, that quote unquote started the abuse cycle in his life. And I also liked how she was on Lily's side and was like, I genuinely need you to leave my brother if this is something that's going to keep happening. But I felt like she was way too apologetic to the abuser, and I did not like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. I did. Once she was like, just how you said, she was like, you need to leave my brother. Like, this is unacceptable. And even though I love you and like I want to be your friend, you have to go. I think that was probably a turning point when I was like, all right, I guess she's an okay character. And I thought it was interesting, though, because if we didn't have Alyssa, who was so stupidly interjected in my opinion, if we didn't have her, we wouldn't have gotten any of it, though. Like, without her, we just would have had Ryle just being wild Ryle just throwing shit and hitting Lily and pushing her down the stairs, and there would be like no explanation. Not saying that any explanation is justified, but we wouldn't have gotten any of his backstory without having her character. And by the way, I have to say, I already forget his name, but her husband, I really liked his character.
Marshall.
And I felt like he was just a funny interjection. Like, it was giving him How I Met Your Mother vibes. He was like, I was just like, oh, he's just like the funny background guy that is chill, and they're like, Marshall, don't say anything, and he's like, I got you. Like, it was just really funny.
Yeah, I really did like his character because like even from the beginning when Alyssa was first introduced, like at the like flower shop, and then Alyssa falls, she calls her brother, happens being Ryle, and then Marshall comes with him and he's wearing a onesie because they're trying to get free beer. And then later in the book, she was like, Marshall, you make $6 million a year, you don't need free beer. And he said, it's free beer.
I know. He was just such a like comedic relief in a way that I was like, he's great. I love him.
I hope that they cast him as somebody really well. I know. They've also casted Alyssa now, and I again forget who that is, but they haven't casted Marshall yet.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Okay, so before we move into the next question, I just there was something else that I wanted to ask. Oh, okay. So there was 3 instances of full-blown physical abuse in this book, and I think that it's important to like remember as like people like that either haven't dealt with abuse or people that are kind of on the outside to remember like, hey, one time is enough. And I know the first time, like, he was so apologetic over it. Like, they had dropped a casserole dish and it was all over the floor, and he got angry and like came back and like smacked Lily, and she had fallen to the ground. And then the second time, he was jealous about Atlas because he had found his phone number in her phone after he had been there just in case of emergency. And he ended up pushing her down the stairs. And then the third time, he ends up almost, another trigger warning, almost sexually assaulting her, and then ends up headbutting her. And those are all 3 increasing levels of abuse. But I really liked at the end of the book when Colleen Hoover, like, she kind of related it back to her own life because it was kind of based on loosely the story of like her parents and their abuse cycle. And I just think it's important to like see how she rationalized it, because she was like, oh, he was so apologetic. Then he was a little bit less apologetic. And then he was so apologetic, and like try and remember like, okay, like you can't rationalize it because at the end of the day, it is abuse. And I was, even one time is too much. And I was still a little bit like weirded out about it that she like stayed around, especially with her own history of her mother being abused. So I was just curious what you thought about that.
Yeah. Good question. Sounds really silly, but I think I felt how I was supposed to, or like how Colleen Hoover wanted me to feel. I felt sympathetic for Lily. I felt like I've never been in a situation like that, so I couldn't understand, but I also almost did understand. It's like, even a relationship that you're in, which maybe we all have experience with, whether it's friendship, parent, partner, anything, any relationship you're in, is pretty hard to walk away from. Even if it's mutual, even if it's been a long time coming, even if it's over something that's not abusive or not triggering or not anything like that, it's still really hard to walk away from something you've had for so long. Even though their relationship was so short, it was like they were like, oh my god, this is my one true love, this is my one true love. Like, they were obsessed with each other. They were like so in it. So I think I sympathized for Lily, and that's pretty much it. I don't think I found any distaste for her not walking away, but I felt like I really not really liked it, but I almost really liked that she got to have some perspective for her mom, because before that she didn't understand her mom very well and why her mom stayed in the relationship as long as she did. And after this, they were able to bond really well, it seemed like, actually, over the situation, and her mom was able to like help her and talk to her and get her through it, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, that's what I thought. I
agree. I think that it was important to show like how easy it is to stay, even if you are being hurt physically by a partner or a friend or whatever, a family member.
Exactly.
But I also kind of wish that she would have stuck with her gut I mean, of course it wouldn't be a book if she had just stuck with her gut and then walked away at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I think it would have shown, I think it was a very helpful story to show people you can get stuck in a cycle of abuse, and you can start to allow your, like she said at the end of the book, your limit increase.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been empowering to see her walk away after the first like instance of abuse as well.
Yeah, for sure. It would have. And I think I really liked how the book ended, and that's probably what bumped me up between a 3 and a 4, because the whole book I was just like, it's a 3 book. I got to the end, and the last line of the book is, it ends with us, and I liked that. I liked how the story rounded out at the end.
Yeah, I agree. So you kind of touched on this a little bit, but everything in Lily and Ryle's relationship happens very quickly, and they are married within 6 months. Does the speed say anything about the relationship overall, or do some successful relationships just operate that quickly?
I think it's an interesting question, and I read it this morning, and I was like, oh my god, of course. I didn't even think of this. Of course, it went way too fast. And now I'm actually going to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to say some relationships just operate that quickly. I feel like I feel like time has nothing to do with it, if I'm being fully honest. I'm like, I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I think people's attitude and perspective and values and the way people treat each other is what has something to do with it. So I actually am indifferent on this question. I don't actually know what I think.
I agree somewhat. I think that I thought that he was going to be a stalker. He was going to be obsessed and like not let her leave. And like, I thought that it was him trying to make her stay. And especially because like this was after that first moment of abuse. It was before the second one, but it was after that first moment of abuse. And I think it was him trying to be like, I'm locked in. You can't leave me now.
Yeah, that's
like,
a good
even
point.
if I do hurt you again, even though she had said after the first time, Ryle, if this happens again, I will leave you because I'm a strong woman. But I think it was a way of him saying like, I can be so loving and I can like get you to love me forever, especially if I make you marry me tonight.
Yeah,
like,
you're right, because it was so impulsive. Like neither of them even seemed to have even thought about it before that point, and they were both actually pretty not anti, but almost like he was anti-relationship. She was like anti-jumping into a relationship that fast, it seemed, based on her values. So yeah, you're right. I didn't think of it like that, but I think that's true. I think it definitely was probably an abusive play, actually.
Yeah. And I think even like going off of you saying it's an abusive play, I think like she was in Alyssa's room having a vulnerable conversation with her best friend. And Alyssa was like, well, I feel like there could be a proposal coming soon. Like, what would you say? And she was like, oh, I'd probably say yes. Like, I would love to marry him. Yeah. And he just happens to be standing in the door behind her and was like, yeah, let's go get married tonight.
Yeah, that's just, it was really impulsive. And then they went to Vegas from Boston. I'm like, this storyline, I cannot.
Yeah, I didn't like that section, but I think it was important that like Colleen Hoover had written it like that, because it just like showed like he was trapping her a little bit.
And they were also both willing to go to any length because they were just they were obsessed with each other. I feel like there's not a better word. It's like, sure, they were in love or they like had lust, but they were obsessed with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. But I can also play devil's advocate, because I think that some relationships just do operate very quickly. And I think that if you were reading this kind of like from Owen's perspective, where she was saying like, oh, I'm in love with Ryle, and like, yes, he did abuse her that first time, but like I see him like being apologetic and trying to woo her and like, playing like the redeemer card and whatever. But I think that you could have definitely seen it as something romantic. Like, he just happens to overhear the conversation. He's like, well, then let's do it. Let's go tonight. We have the means. Yeah. But I didn't see it like that.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Like I said, I was kind of indifferent. I didn't see it either way. I was just like, okay. I think at that point I was just like, hopefully something interesting happens soon. But after you explained it, I do feel like I could see how it could be a play for sure. That makes a lot of sense to me. Just knowing how the book ends, at least. Yeah. Hindsight vision.
Yeah. So the next part is going back to that traumatic event that had happened in Ryle's life. So Alyssa convinces Ryle to open up to Lily about the traumatic events of his childhood. In what ways does this knowledge change Lily's perception of Ryle? How did it change yours? And why do you think that Hoover chose to give Ryle this backstory?
I was like, who's Hoover? Okay. Whoops. So backstory, spoiler alert, this whole episode's a spoiler, so like if you don't get it by now, I'm sorry. But okay, so when Ryle was a childhood, as I understood it, he had Alyssa and then his other brother named
Emerson.
Thank you.
I finished it last night. I remember everything.
You're fresh. Okay, Emerson, Alyssa, and Ryle, they're all three siblings. What happened? I know what he did, but was there a story as to why and how that happened?
So at the beginning of the book, the whole reason that Ryle's mad and comes up to the rooftop is because he's a neurosurgeon. He just performed a surgery on a young child that had unfortunately passed away because he was shot by his brother on accident. And so they tie it back in and say that this is the exact thing that had happened to Ryle when he was 6 years old. He had accidentally gotten a hold of a gun that was loaded and the safety wasn't on or whatever, and he had accidentally shot and killed his brother. And they made it kind of graphic in the book, saying he was like, I was trying to like lay there with him and like put his brains back in his head.
I did not like that.
I didn't either. But then he was like, that's like what made me want to become a neurosurgeon. And ever since then, it's like traumatized me, and I black out and I have these rages and I don't remember anything.
They attributed all the abuse to this one like event from his childhood.
I don't necessarily think that they attributed it to it, but it was definitely more of him trying to cover up the reason why he abused her. Yeah. And I saw it more as a scapegoat, not necessarily an explanation, because he was like, this is the whole reason that I hit you, Lily. And I'm like, you literally sound like you're trying to play this martyr card and you just seem like an idiot.
Yeah. Ugh, did not like. So that's the event, for the record.
Yes.
In what ways does this change, or does this knowledge change Lily's perception of Ryle? I felt like she took it as an explanation, personally, which you might disagree, but like that's how I received it, was like she kind of had an explanation, and I don't think she used that to like completely off-right everything, but she was like, oh, it almost kind of makes sense. He has childhood trauma, blah, blah, blah. How did it change my perspective? It didn't. I just didn't like him even more then, which he was like literally 6 years old. Like, I get it. You know, when you're 6 years old, I don't even remember when I was 6 years old. So like, I understand that that's a tragedy. I just don't understand how it works because that's never happened to me. And why do you think Hoover chose to give Ryle this backstory? I have no clue, to be honest. I think that they could have gone with something less wild, like less graphic. Like, that was a very extreme version of, like, I think they could have had Emerson be passed away as a child in some other way. Like, maybe he drowned. Like, I know that sounds horrible, but I'm like, the gun violence was like almost an aspect that I felt like the book didn't need. Like, there was already so much going on. I feel like gun violence, maybe it's a topic for another book. I felt like, personally, I think it was just a little too much.
Yeah. So for my like answer to this question, I think that it does give Lily an explanation, or at least it gives her like the angel and devil on her shoulders. The angel on her shoulder is saying, your mom went through this, you don't need to go through it at all, like, you're stronger than this. And then the devil on her other shoulder is saying, but he like had this trauma and he's trying to work through it. He's been in therapy forever and he's trying to get better, and like, maybe there is an end. Maybe he will break out of the cycle of his violence or the cycle of his quote unquote blackouts of rage. But I don't think that was necessary, because she was already going through that whole angel and devil situation with like, I love him, but I need to leave him. The whole like her rationalizing what had happened to her mother as a child. And I agree, it didn't change my opinion at all. I still didn't like him, and it didn't really it didn't give me a soft spot for him. I was like, okay, yeah, like, stuff does happen, childhood trauma does happen, and it does affect the way that you navigate the rest of your life. However, I don't think that it's an excuse to hit your wife. And I was just like, I don't think that this really unveils anything. And then, why do I think that she chose to give Ryle this backstory? I think she chose to give him the backstory to kind of wrap it up, like, first to wrap it back to the beginning of the like book and like say,
which by the way I liked that they did that. It was a nice tie, and it's almost like when you see a comedy show and they have one joke at the beginning and then they tie it in at the end, and everyone's cracking up. It's so good, and it's like a really nice tactic. I just wish it were a different storyline personally. But I like that too.
But I think that the reason that she chose to give him a backstory at all, I like that it tied in, but I think that the reason she chose to give him like this quote unquote scapegoat is because a lot of people that are in abusive relationships, they look for that scapegoat themselves, or they create this scenario or this like idea that the person, and this is like a quote from the book, that a person isn't bad things just happen to them. And I think that they really tried to give that to Lily, because that's what a lot of people do in abusive situations already. And so if they give her this truly awful thing that had happened to her partner as a child that changed the way that his brain was like wired or whatever, they are drawing on what happens to people in actually abusive relationships, and they're like, well, this happened, like, maybe they didn't mean it.
I hear
but
that. I think
I don't think it was necessary.
I don't either. Yeah, that was something I almost kind of forgot about it. Not completely, but I just kind of wrote it off in my mind, because I was like, that's another heavy topic to bring in, and I felt like it wasn't necessary, or like we didn't get a lot of explanation on it. It was just like, oh, like he killed his brother and now he lives with that. Like, okay. So I feel like it either needed a lot more explanation or eliminate. Sorry, Colleen Hoover. I feel like I'm harsh. And I did like her other book, by the way. I'm not a hater.
Okay, before we get into the last question, what did you think when she named her child Emerson?
Okay, I actually liked it.
I did too.
So I thought it was really cute. And then I think they said they would call her like Ellie or something like that.
Emmy.
Yeah, I thought, duh. Why would she be called Ellie? No, I thought that was really cute. I thought it was a nice nod to like their side of the family. It kind of gave us the idea like Lily's not writing off the family, even though she's saying no to Ryle, like, we're not getting back together, we're done, but you can still be a part of her life, and like I actually kind of want you to. I just want there to be rules. Like, I think that naming her daughter after their brother is a nice family tie-in at the end, to say like it ends with us, but like, I don't know, she was just making cool choices that like are gonna, every choice she made at the end of the book was like for the daughter, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I thought it was kind of like cringy that she was like, oh, I'll name him like after your brother that you killed. But like, I thought that it was it was a good like reach out to say like, we are done because I can't stand your abuse towards me anymore. But maybe if I distance myself and name our daughter after the person that quote unquote made you like this, and you can show that you can be a strong father without me. I think that was nice. Yeah. What did you think about her middle name being Dory?
I thought it was stupid, if I'm going to be honest.
I thought that like they could have chosen something else.
Yes. I agree. I was like, you could have picked anything else from, I get it. Ellen would play Dory in Finding Nemo, whatever. Like, I think she could have done it Emerson Ellen. Fine.
Yeah.
Emerson, I don't know, anything else. I just did not like, I'm like, Emerson Dory. That sounds so dumb.
Yeah, I agree. It sounded stupid, but I understand why they did it.
Yeah. I like the nod to Atlas. I thought that was cute. Yeah.
And like, her and Atlas, like, they had this like unforgivable love. Like, they couldn't forget it. And like, they just like were unapologetically like in love with each other throughout everything in their life. And hopefully at the end they ended up together. All she did was run after him and they were like, we're ready. But I was like, I need more. I need more.
I kind of do want to read the next one, even though I was on this one. Like, I do want to see what happens.
Yeah. But I liked how like their whole motto, the whole book, like I almost cried at like one of the second to last lines. He was like, you've reached the shore, Lily. You can stop swimming. And I was like,
I know. I did like that part too. And I didn't think that was cheesy. I thought that was fine. It's just a name. And now that I think about it, how weird is it that she had this baby and then she named it after Ryle's brother and Atlas's like thing? I'm like, you named it after both? But it's fine.
The whole time I was like, I need her to end up with Atlas. Like, I'm in love with Atlas. Like, I literally had texted Owen and I was like, you're telling me that you like Ryle, but this happened with Atlas and you didn't fall in love? And she was like, I don't know what to tell you.
Wow. I really loved Atlas. Yeah. He was like my main man. I'm like, they're going to be in love. I really thought that's what we would get. I was disappointed.
I know. But anyways, the last question. This is why I made you read the author's note at the end.
Marissa's like, did you read the author's note? I was like, I don't know. She's like, read it. I'm like, all right, I got you. I read it last night. Fresh.
Yes. So Hoover's parents had an abusive marriage, just like Lily. In an interview, she's quoted saying that her mother, quote, mother filed for divorce when she was 3, but she says that she never understood how someone as independent as her mother could have stayed so many years in an abusive relationship. How do you see the theme of generational trauma throughout It Ends With Us? Sorry, I could not speak.
No, it's all good. That's a good question. I don't know, but I just feel like they really made her and Ryle have the exact same storyline as her and her dad, or her mom and her dad, which I thought was a really interesting, because it's like we already knew the whole story before it ended in a way. We just didn't know that's how it was going to go. But I almost felt like we watched her childhood. We watched what happened with her mom and her dad. We watched her kind of escape to Atlas and like have a safe space with him. And then it was almost the exact same. It was Lily and Ryle having the same experience as Lily's mom and dad. And she had her safe space with like Alyssa. It was just like a new setup of it. And like I said in my other question, I liked the way that everything went down, because I felt like it gave her a chance, Lily, to understand her mother better and like in a weird way like put some respect on her name. Like, I think it really opened her eyes to her mom and proved to her that her mom was a strong woman, because I think she almost saw her mom at times as like, I know she's strong, but she's weak because she won't leave. And I think it gave her like some experience. But I'd love to hear what you think about this too.
Yeah, I think that it's important you can think of generational trauma in more than just like physical abuse. So like a lot of times like people think of this in like the terms of like alcohol or drug abuse as well. So you think like one generation does it. So in this case, it would be Colleen Hoover's mom and dad / Lily's mom and dad. And you see how the mom stays. I mean, Colleen Hoover's mom, she didn't stay. She did what Lily did in the book. But her parents, they live through the cycle of abuse until her dad dies. Her mom is like unable to leave him because of like the scaredness that she has. Yeah. And then
fear's a big part of it that we didn't really talk about, and I feel like that is important to talk about, is the fear of leaving for something even worse to come. But sorry.
And then Lily finds out that she's pregnant with Ryle's child, and she's like, what do I do? Do I stick around and have this potentially same exact scenario that my parents went through, or do I leave and hope that he doesn't abuse the child because I'm the one that he's willing to abuse now, and I remove that from his life? And I think that that's a really difficult question, but I think that it's somebody has to be the person that it ends with. It ends with us, her and Emerson. At the end of the book, the cycle of generational trauma ends with them. And somebody has to be the person that's willing to sacrifice something to end the generational trauma. And this can be with alcoholism or drug abuse or anything like that as well. You just have to know that something needs to change, or you need to do something, and therefore it's all going to end, or at least you can hope that the cycle ends from doing that. And I liked how she tied it all back in, and it like tied back to the title, because like I said at the beginning, we had no idea what the title meant.
Oh my god,
and,
it could have been 100 million things.
But I really like how she cycled it back into her own life as well, and like showed that her mom was strong enough to leave when like Colleen was only 3 years old, and her father was never abusive to her, and her mom leaving was just the thing that needed to end the cycle.
And she even said in her editor's note, like, I had a great relationship with my father because my mother allowed that to happen, and I thought that was really cool. It was actually a really interesting perspective, and now I think we see why she wrote the book the way that she did, based on her real life. But I also have a little section from the note from the author that I wanted to read, just like how you were saying the generational trauma could like look like a million different things. In the note from the author, Colleen Hoover said, "By no means do I intend for Ryle and Lily's situation to define domestic abuse, nor do I intend for Ryle's character to define the characteristics of most abusers. Every situation is different. Every outcome is different. I chose to fashion Lily and Ryle's story after my mother and father's. I fashioned Ryle after my father in many ways. They are handsome, compassionate, funny, and smart, but with moments of unforgivable behavior." So I thought that was like a really cool paragraph that she put in there, and I'm glad that you asked me to read this, because I just told Marissa before this, like, I always skip the editor note. I don't know why. Like, I've never read a single one, but I thought that was really cool and really important for her to say, because I think that you could be mistaken if you read this whole book and you've never experienced domestic violence. You might see someone that acts like Ryle, and maybe they're just an arrogant asshole. Maybe they're not an abuser. Like, so I think it's really important to also just talk about how many ways these kind of things can look so different.
Yeah, I agree. I loved it. I think that we had a really good conversation, and I think that we do have like similar outlooks, I guess, because both times we've done this, I mean, we both come in. I've never thought that my opinion is going to be controversial. I just think that like maybe you won't have the same opinion as me, but I'm like, both times we've been 2 for 2.
I know. I just really thought, I came in thinking like, I bet people liked Ryle, and I just did it. So I was like, I wonder if that's unpopular. I have no idea. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens. I think maybe in our next book we should pick something lighter, but how would we know? Because we just keep picking books and we're like, oh my god, I didn't know what it was going to be.
I know, we pick books that we have no preconceived notion of, but
just popular books that people are like, this is so good. Which I thought, I've heard a lot of people say It Ends With Us is the reason they started reading again, which I thought was very interesting, because if I read this after a long period of not reading, I'd be not reading still. Like, that's how much I did not like it at the beginning. But I do think I have to say, reading the author's note, so here we go, I'm going to be a changed woman after this, is what put me from 3 to 4 stars, because I felt like it was the perspective I needed to see what she intended with the book. Even though I wasn't obsessed with some of the parts or the characters or whatever, I saw the point of it, and I thought that was powerful enough that I'm like, okay, so we're giving it 4 stars over here.
Yeah, I think I'm sitting at like 4 to 4.5 stars, just because of, I don't know, just because I didn't fall in love with Ryle from the beginning, but I did like the majority of the storylines, and I was able, like yesterday when I sat down for like 4 hours and read, I was able to, like, I wasn't like dreading finishing the book. So
yeah, I love it. Wow. Yay. Well, thank you guys for joining us again. And if you have recommendations for our next book club, or you want to join our book club and like have us set something up, willing to do that. That'd be super fun. So definitely let us know on Instagram.
Yes. But with that, I'm Marissa.
And I'm Arika. And we run on coffee.
Bye.
Oh my gosh. So good.